Walking into this match, there was a strange mix of optimism and anxiety around this Celtic side, and that feeling barely needed 10 minutes to start making sense. Getting an early goal should have been the moment to calm everything down, to slow the tempo, take the sting out of the atmosphere and impose some authority on the game. Instead, what followed felt like a familiar pattern that has been creeping into too many away performances. The ball was being moved without conviction, passes that should be routine were going astray, and players who are supposed to dictate the rhythm looked hesitant, almost surprised by the pressure coming their way. It was not about effort because the running was there, but effort without composure only feeds chaos, and chaos is exactly the kind of game Celtic should never be dragged into. What stood out most was how quickly control slipped away. There were moments early on when the opposition looked edgy, the crowd restless, and that was the window to really stamp authority on the match. Instead of taking responsibility, too many players played safe in the worst possible way, either recycling possession without purpose or giving it away cheaply and inviting pressure straight back on. The midfield, which should be the heartbeat of this team, never truly settled. Players who are known for their intelligence on the ball were caught out repeatedly, overhit passes, underhit passes, rushed decisions, and suddenly every second touch felt like a risk rather than a weapon. The free kicks conceded were another massive issue, not just because of the danger they created, but because of what they represented mentally. Giving away soft fouls breaks your own momentum and hands belief to the opposition. For long spells, there was no need to foul, no immediate threat, yet tackles were mistimed and challenges were unnecessary. That constant stop-start nature suited the home side perfectly. It allowed them to push higher, to keep pinning Celtic back, and to turn the game into a series of battles rather than a contest of quality. Once that happens, especially away from home, it becomes very difficult to wrestle control back. There is also a growing concern about how this team handles pressure when pressed high. In previous seasons, Celtic sides were confident enough to play through the press using short combinations, movement off the ball, and bravery in tight spaces. This version looks unsure. When pressed, the default option too often becomes the long ball, bypassing the midfield entirely. That might reduce certain risks, but it also strips the team of its identity. Without linking play through the middle, attacks become predictable and easy to defend. Possession is lost quickly, and the team finds itself defending wave after wave without ever setting a platform to build from. Individually, there were moments that summed up the wider issues. Talented players showed flashes of what they can do, but those moments were isolated and rarely sustained. A brilliant piece of technique would be followed by long spells of anonymity. Work rate was there, but quality was inconsistent. Even players with a history of running big games struggled to assert themselves. When your most trusted figures are misplacing passes and getting dragged into the kind of scrappy exchanges the opposition thrives on, it sends a message to the rest of the side. Confidence drains, decisions slow, and suddenly the team looks reactive rather than proactive. Away from home, this has started to feel less like an anomaly and more like a trend. At home, with familiar surroundings and space to breathe, Celtic still look capable of producing fluid football and dominating matches. On the road, however, games turn into 50-50 battles far too easily. The worrying part is not just the results, but the manner of the performances. There is a sense that the team is not entirely sure how it wants to hurt opponents. in these environments. And there is movement, but not always purpose. There is possession, but not always control. And when things begin to go against them, there is a visible drop in belief. The lack of cohesion in the attacking third only adds to that problem. Without a forward presence that consistently occupies defenders and allows others to play off him, the pitch feels smaller. Opponents are comfortable stepping higher, squeezing the midfield, and forcing mistakes. Attacks break down too easily, and instead of sustained pressure, Celtic find themselves chasing second balls and reacting to turnovers. That puts even more strain on a midfield already struggling to dictate tempo, and it becomes a vicious cycle that is hard to break once it starts. Even moments of genuine quality, like a well-struck goal or a rare flowing move, felt like exceptions rather than signs of control. They lifted the energy briefly, but they did not change the underlying pattern of the game. Each time there was a chance to build on a positive moment, it was followed by another careless pass or another needless foul. That inability to string positive actions together is perhaps the most frustrating aspect, because it suggests the tools are there, but the balance is not. As the game wore on, the sense grew that this was drifting into exactly the kind of contest the opposition wanted. Physical, fragmented, emotional, and decided more by errors than by invention. Celtic were not overrun in terms of effort, but effort alone is never enough at this level. Control, composure, and clarity of idea are what separate good sides from inconsistent ones. Right now, especially away from home, those elements feel fragile, and until that changes, every similar fixture is going to carry the same uneasy feeling that this performance was never far away. As the second half unfolded, there was a quiet hope that adjustments would be made, that the break would allow a reset in mentality and shape. Instead, the opening minutes only deepened the concern, conceding pressure straight away, allowing territory to be lost, and looking uncertain in defensive organization set the tone almost immediately. When the equalizer arrived, it felt less like a shock and more like an inevitability born from everything that had come before. Set pieces once again exposed a lack of awareness, too many players ball-watching, not enough responsibility being taken, and a movement from the opposition that went unchecked. It was another moment that highlighted how fragile this side can look when the structure is tested. From that point on, belief visibly drained. Even with numbers still level, there was little sense of confidence that Celtic could regain control through their football. The response to conceding was not one of authority or urgency, but of caution and hesitation. Passes became even safer, tempo dropped, and the midfield struggled to get on the ball in areas that mattered. Instead of pushing the opposition back, Celtic found themselves retreating, absorbing pressure, and hoping for moments rather than creating sustained threats. That is a dangerous place to be, especially in a hostile, away environment. What made it more frustrating was that the opposition were not overwhelming in quality. They were organized, aggressive, and committed, but not unbeatable. The dominance they enjoyed came largely from Celtic's own shortcomings. Sloppy possession gifted them territory, poor decisions invited pressure, and the lack of bravery in possession meant the game was never taken away from them. When a team realizes it can win the ball back easily and quickly, confidence grows, and that was evident as the second half progressed. There were brief flashes that hinted at what might have been a half chance here, a strike off the bar there, moments that momentarily lifted the traveling support, but these moments arrived in isolation, disconnected from any sustained spell of pressure. The attacking play lacked fluidity. with players often occupying the same spaces or failing to anticipate each other's movements. New faces showed willingness and energy, but also signs of unfamiliarity, which is understandable. Yet it further underlined the absence of a clear attacking rhythm. The substitutions told their own story. Changes were made, but they felt reactive rather than decisive. There was no obvious shift in approach, no clear attempt to alter the pattern of the game. If anything, the structure remained the same, and so did the problems. Fresh legs did not bring fresh ideas. The midfield continued to be bypassed, and long balls forward were dealt with comfortably. Each time possession was lost cheaply, the frustration grew, not just among the supporters, but visibly on the pitch as well. Defensively, there were moments of resilience. Blocks were made, tackles were committed to, and the goalkeeper was called upon to make important saves. But defending constantly is not a sustainable plan for a club with Celtic's ambitions. Even when the scoreline remained level, it felt like the balance of the game was tilted away from them. Territory, momentum, and belief all belonged to the opposition, and Celtic were left clinging to moments rather than shaping the contest. What is perhaps most worrying is how familiar this all feels. Similar patterns have emerged in multiple away fixtures. Strong starts followed by a gradual loss of control, difficulty playing through pressure, a lack of composure when the game becomes physical and scrappy. These are not isolated incidents anymore. They point towards a deeper issue that goes beyond one performance or one opponent. Whether it is tactical, psychological, or linked to personnel, it is something that needs addressing quickly. The contrast between home and away form only sharpens that concern. At home, with confidence flowing and space to play, the team looks capable of expressing itself. Away from home, the margins feel tighter, decisions feel rushed, and the football becomes cautious. That suggests a mentality issue as much as anything else. The best teams find a way to impose themselves regardless of surroundings. Right now, Celtic are struggling to do that when conditions are not in their favor. There is also a clear need for balance in the overall approach. Moving away from sterile possession was necessary, but swinging too far in the opposite direction has created new problems. Direct play without structure becomes hopeful rather than purposeful. The key is variation, knowing when to play through pressure and when to go long, when to slow the game down, and when to accelerate it. At the moment, that balance feels off, and opponents are exploiting it. Ultimately, this performance raises uncomfortable questions about identity, about bravery on the ball, and about whether the current group has the right mix to consistently control difficult away matches. The frustration does not come from a lack of effort, but from the sense that the potential is there, yet remains untapped in these environments. Until Celtic rediscover composure, cohesion, and a clearer attacking plan away from home, these kinds of performances will continue to cast a shadow over the season. There is also an underlying sense that confidence within the squad is far more fragile than it should be at this stage. When things start to slip, there are few visible leaders willing to grab the game and impose themselves. Heads drop, shoulders slump, and the play becomes rushed rather than assertive. Instead of demanding the ball in tight areas, players look to move it on quickly, almost as if responsibility itself has become a burden. That hesitation is costly because at this level, especially away from home, hesitation is exactly what opponents feed off. They sense uncertainty and push even harder, knowing mistakes are likely to follow. Another issue that cannot be ignored is how disconnected the lines become as matches like this wear on. The defense sits deeper, the midfield gets stretched, and the attackers become isolated. With too much distance between units, even simple build-up play becomes difficult. Passes into midfield arrive under pressure, options are limited, and turnovers become inevitable. When that happens repeatedly, the team loses any chance of sustaining pressure or dictating the flow of the game. It turns into a cycle of defending, clearing, and immediately having to defend again, which drains energy and belief at the same time. All of this adds to the growing feeling that something needs to shift, not dramatically, but intelligently. Small tweaks in positioning, clearer roles in midfield, and a more defined plan when facing aggressive pressing sides could make a significant difference. The quality is still there within the squad, but it is being dulled by uncertainty and imbalance. Until those issues are confronted head-on, performances like this will continue to feel uncomfortably predictable, especially when Celtic step into hostile grounds where control has to be earned rather than expected. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are circling the Scottish football scene, and they're getting louder by the hour. Celtic are reportedly preparing what could only be described as a mega offer to lure Nigerian striker AKOR ADAMS away from his current club. Sources close to the club suggest that Celtic's hierarchy is seriously considering a bid that would not only turn heads across the Premiership, but also send a message to rivals both at home and abroad. AKOR ADAMS, known for his blistering pace and clinical finishing, has been on the radar of several European clubs, but Celtic appear determined to make their move before anyone else can stake a serious claim. Insiders hint that the boys see Adams as the perfect solution to their striking woes, someone who could provide the firepower necessary to challenge on multiple fronts. It's said that negotiations are still in the early stages, but the mere suggestion of a mega offer has already set tongues wagging among fans and pundits alike. The speculation has sparked a flurry of social media activity, with supporters debating whether the club could realistically secure such a high-profile signing. Some argue that bringing in Adams would be a masterstroke, potentially transforming the team's attacking dynamic, while others caution that Celtic might need to offload players to balance the books. The financial implications alone are being scrutinized, yet the club's ambition seems to outweigh any immediate concerns. From a tactical standpoint, adding a forward of Adams' caliber could offer Celtic new dimensions in attack, allowing them to exploit pace, strength, and intelligent movement in ways they haven't been able to consistently achieve. Managers past and present have been linked to similar pursuits, but few have seemed as determined as the current leadership to make a marquee signing that could reshape the squad. While nothing has been confirmed officially, insiders hint that talks could intensify quickly. The football world is watching closely, waiting to see if this bold move materializes or if it remains just another tantalizing rumor in the transfer window. For now, fans can only speculate, dream, and hope that AKOR ADAMS might soon be donning the famous green and white hoops. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.